So they recently released a demo for Harvestella, and I thought I would try it out and give my opinion on it. So yeah, let's get right into it. So to start off, we have the character customization. Now, from the character customization, right from the start, you have the male, female, and a choice of non-binary. I chose female to stick with the trailer and get that feeling. But after this, you only have 8 options. These 8 options are 2 different builds, which the top 4 are the buff build and the second bottom is a more small petite build. These builds only have 4 skin tones, and across both, each one is the same skin tone. Right away, I'm not seeing anything of complexity, really nothing to show that you can make this protagonist your own, because after this, you can choose hair color, but you cannot choose a hairstyle. And this was kind of upsetting because I like to, make my character the way I see fit, especially if you're a person who's not interested in the first preset. I thought maybe it would get a little better, but after this, you could only select eye color. And the eye color was varied, I'll say that, but you couldn't choose eye shape, eye positioning, nothing of the sort, which was really alarming. Now, to start off, I will give it the benefit of a doubt because this is a demo, but I'm hoping by the time this game comes out, we will actually have a lot more available, as I'm not seeing anything here that could possibly make anyone feel unique. And I know a lot of people would be interested in making their own character, but unfortunately, we're going to have to wait and see if they add anything in the real game. So, now moving on to the farming aspect of Harvestella. In my opinion, I believe that the farming aspect of Harvestella was really well done. They definitely succeeded doing what they set out to do in the genre that they were doing it in. Just like every farming simulator, you simply hit the ground twice, you make a square, and then you plant your seeds, and then you water them. What I liked the most about Harvestella's farming mechanic was the watering. The watering to me was very satisfying. Instead of a watering can that you just pour over each space, kind of like in Stardew Valley and Rune Factory, you pour, you move on, you pour. This device actually sprayed the water into the air, and it kind of like went across each square, and it was just so satisfying to see. Out of the farming, that was like the funnest thing for me. I don't know why, it was just really satisfying for me. And then on top of that, when the crops are grown, after waiting a couple in-game days depending on what crop you planted, you then harvest them. The plants or the vegetables that are planted, when they're fully grown, they actually have a really nice aesthetic to them. They actually have a high quality, and you can definitely tell what they are. When you plant seeds in the square, you can see that the seeds are spread out into 4. Each one of those seeds grows into that plant, and it looks very appealing. It was very satisfying. And when you collect them and you view the art in the inventory, this game had really nice art for its items. The carrots, the hay, the grass, they were all nicely done and also really nicely hand-drawn. So from there, you get them, you put them in the shipping box, you gotta wait till the next day, and boom, you get paid. So while being a farming simulator, I feel like it does, somehow it's able to separate itself from being just some clone of a farming simulator, and it actually tries to be its own thing, and it actually tries to have its own mechanics, because I believe that it was made very simple. I didn't have a hard time choosing from the hoe to the watering device, and I didn't have a hard time choosing from the quick menu at the bottom when I needed to get my seeds or whenever I needed to eat something. So yeah, it was made very simple. This was very calming, and in combination with the music, I believe that it was very well put together. It gave me that calming aspect, this game that I can just relax to. It didn't give me any annoyances from the farming aspect, and I really believe that they did a good job. So now jumping into Harvestella's combat, for me Harvestella's combat wasn't as satisfying as the farming aspect. The reason being is that when I was fighting the enemies, especially the later 2 bosses, especially the last one of the first dungeon you go through, my character felt very stiff. and it felt very unresponsive. I felt like she could be quicker, and I felt like maybe she could do more, because the options you have at the beginning aren't that good, and this game is, you know, it does want you to fight, it does want you to go through the various enemies, and it does want you to level yourself up, to say, with the board skills and whatnot. But for me, at first, it was really hard to do, because the first thing you need to do is to be able to dodge, especially in this type of game where if your health bar reaches 0, your entire day ends, and then you move on 6 hours later the next day at noon. And being as how these types of games are very time constraint, especially this one, which is more on the stricter side, which I'll get onto later into the time management. Yeah, I had to get the skill in order to be able to dodge, and I felt like maybe dodging should just be a natural aspect and a natural thing to be able to do. And along with that, and this is just me nitpicking, I wasn't able to do any aerial attacks. I just naturally thought, you know, oh, I can jump during attacking, but for some reason, you know, I jumped and, you know, I tried attacking and there was no attacking. She didn't jump and impale her sword into the ground, nothing. So I don't know if I'm able to do aerial attacks later as I'm upgrading the board skills, but being able to do that, I felt like would have been cool, and it would have really branched out the system. But seeing as that there is a job class system in itself, I do feel that later on through the game, you should be able to have a more complex playthrough, especially with the various classes that there likely is to be. I mean, from the first one you get is the fighter, which is a sword user, and then the later acquired mage. So I enjoyed the fighter. I don't like the mage because, you know, you have to wind up your spell. It takes a while. You get punished. But overall, I feel like Harvestella's combat could have been a bit better. I feel like it's not as good as where it could be, and it did feel a little sluggish, and that is my only complaint, as I didn't get into the complexity of the job class system, as you can only go so far, which, you know, only 15 in-game days in the demo, or just going into 2 chapters. So yeah, but overall it isn't as good as it could be. So for the environments, I want you guys to see the environments yourselves, but also have it complemented with the in-game music so you guys can feel the type of atmosphere this game is going for, and I will give my thoughts afterward. Enjoy. So out of all of the environments with the music that you just saw and heard, I really fell in love with just this one here where you are on your farm and all of the trees' leaves are lit up and the crystals are everywhere and the music complemented it so beautifully. I think that they did a really good job in composing and matching the music with the environments to have that certain tone, because tones are very, very, very important for games, especially, I can't imagine farming to this game while there's Doom music in the background. That would just destroy it all. But this was just very nice, and I believe that this is one of Harvestella's strong suits. So probably one of the most important aspects of these types of games is, how does the time work? Well, the time works by, it's not in increments of 1, they go from tens. So basically 7, couple seconds pass, and then it's 7:10, 7:20. From my experience from playing the demo from start to finish is that these games, well, this game in particular, has a very strict time management system in place. Everything involves time. You are not going to get through the first dungeon in 1, 2, or maybe even 3 in-game days, because everything involves time. For instance, when you're walking onto the main map, walking from just your farm to the village, which is straight across from each other, it takes up like 30 minutes of your time. And if you somehow walk somewhere where you're not supposed to go, for instance, like if you meant to go here, but you went the wrong way, that is going to severely cost you in time. So the farther you go onto the main map, the more time you are going to lose. And on top of that, unlike Stardew Valley, Rune Factory, Animal Crossing, you cannot simply make items anytime you want. Each item has a different amount of time in place to how long it takes. For instance, I made 3 of these bells, or turn bells, that when you ring them, it instantly takes you back to your farm. Each one of those takes 20 minutes. So 3 of them, it's an hour, and you can only make 3. So you can't just make a hammer, you can't just make anything, because it takes up your time. So the strictness of this game, while also allowing you to plan your days more efficiently, to some this may be too strict, because you might want to do this, but you can't do this because you don't have this, and you do that, it ends up eating away your last year time. I think the thing that really makes this system even more strict is the fact that when you are in the first dungeon, the dungeon takes a lot of your time, especially if you have none of the shortcuts built. The shortcuts are these 2 ladders that you find in the first area that you do need lumber to build. Without these built, you will find a very difficult time of completing this dungeon in a time-specific manner, as walking from one end to the other takes up a lot of your time, most likely an hour to an hour and a half for that area. So you having to build these shortcuts also involves taking up your time. So each ladder you build takes an hour away of your time. If you're specifically, you start at 6 in the morning, you make your way to 6 in the evening, that's when it starts suggesting to you that, hey, maybe you should go back to your farm. And then after a while, you eventually do pass out. I believe it's at 12 or 1. Being as how fast the time is in this game and how everything involves time, you can really, really screw yourself over. And also, there are these 2 bridges that you need to make in this dungeon in order to progress. And these dungeons, you need a repair kit. You naturally, through the character that you meet, Dianthus, they give you a repair kit and you can easily repair the bridge, but after that you need to find another one. The second one is by the second bridge, but the issue is that you have to look into this pile of leaves, but it takes 30 minutes. Then you have to go to the bridge, and then that takes another hour, so you already lost an hour and 30 minutes there. So for some people, depending on how you are, depending on how you like to play, this system can be a little too strict. I did become accustomed to it, but I did immediately see how this could screw you over immediately. You not having everything set up and you not having everything you need before you venture off. If you can get through it, I do see that, you will have a good time, but I did find myself being frustrated by this. So yeah, so when it comes out, just keep in mind of how strict the time management is. At this rate. So there wasn't a lot of voice acting in this one. There wasn't really much of anything. I mean, I only heard voices 4, maybe 5 times. So I thought I would show you guys what I heard. And the one I didn't like was Dianthus, which is the first party member that you come into contact with. I don't know what they are. They're part of the Omens, and I don't know if it's a different race or if they're just fully like robotic, but yeah, let's get right into it and you guys can judge for yourselves.
How's business? Cheers.
Welcome. Please, come again.
End of battle. All clear. Escape successful. Looks like we lost them. I think this battle is best avoided.